If you're looking to have a fun and exciting universe mode in WWE 2K26, then I got you guys with a guide on how to book your universe mode with the best rivalry actions to have the most fun. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Starting off with the main event level rivalries, how do you want to use the rivalry actions to push your main attractions? It's pretty simple. You want to start by keeping things simple, keeping superstars really away from each other. Really, promos are the best option for this. You can use the promo interrupt option, which allows, a face or a heel to be involved interrupting another superstar, whether it's a world champion or just a main event level star, to really start to build that feud. Also, a call out option is great if you want to have a face call out a heel or a face call out a faction. It's a great way to really get things going, but also has the potentially to have a brawl in these promo options, which I think is great, but generally you want to keep that to the later half of the feud. As next up, I like to use a nice little intermediate option, like maybe a champion stare down or a post-match stare down option for non-champions. It's a great way to really continue to build up some intensity, having a superstar coming from behind after a match for a big, intense stare down, and that leads to the big meaty stuff at the end of your main event feuds. The rivalry actions to be a lot of the distractions or attacks. All of them are really great options for before, during, or after a match. And I think that's a great way to really finally build the intensity to the breaking point right before your big main event level PLE match with, a great selection of different rivalry actions, building slow with promos, increasing the intensity of stare downs, and then distractions and attacks to really get things going to really justify a main event level feud. Next up is how to use rivalry actions to book heel turns, which is a little bit more exciting because there's a lot of ways to do it, especially this year. The biggest one you might be thinking is the new promo option in self promos, which allows the heel turn. And this makes the most sense if you want a heel turn based on crowd reaction. Think recently a bunch of crowds with Sami Zayn booing him more than cheering him. This can be that, heel turn point where you turn heel or even face, but heel turn this example on the crowd because of their reaction. But what about if you want a shock heel turn that no one saw coming on a superstar, on an ally, something like that? There's 3 betrayal options: low blow, mid-match, and post-match. These are all great options that differently tell stories on heel turns on allies or other superstars and faces within your shows. And it's a great way to go ahead and do it. But you don't want to forget, what about after the heel turn? What about the big moment happens? What's next? And so we're going to think about other things, distractions. We just talked about them for the main event scene. I think it's also great here as well. You can have the ringside distraction, ringside guest removal, where the heel turn, has a failed distraction. Those kinds of things to really show that they're a heel now, show they're distracting, faces, distracting their allies, to really kick off that big first, feud or rivalry after their heel turn. So you want to make sure the follow-up is just as good as the big heel turn moment. So make sure you're utilizing distractions and even attacks as they continue to be a heel to really show that heel turn actually progressing. Unfortunately, 2K26 Universe Mode doesn't do a good job of automatically setting up faction rivalry actions, but you can manually create some great moments with rivalry actions, as ultimately, in the teamwork section, it is great to use the manager's chair assist for heels, as you can show off a heel faction member tossing in a chair, getting a cheap shot to help their heel ally win the match. But also for faces and heels, there's 2 great opportunities. A manager's pin interrupt and mid-match manager joins are great ways for both heel and faces to really have those factions be involved and show they're working together for the numbers game. If you head over now to Reversal, you also have a couple of options for maybe a heel faction member. If they're a coward, you can use the coward's replacement or surprise replacement to instead insert that faction member's ally to go ahead and get them out of a match. So that way, if you're having one faction member take on another faction member for your rivalry, it pushes off that big match towards the end or at a PLE, so you can have this random faction member ally, fill in their place for that match to continue to push that story. Then other options go to what we typically do, which is going to be the distractions. If a faction member is in a match with someone else, one of their allies or other faction members will come in and then use these distractions, help them get the win. Typical faction work, any of these work, which will, in my opinion, why they're the best to use for factions. So for the best rivalry actions for Money in the Bank, you're probably already thinking you know what they are. If you go down to the cash-in section, I can't click on it right now because I don't have Money in the Bank holder right now, but it's always the typical cash-ins. You have the 3 options: the cash-in attack, triple threat cash-in. But you're forgetting about some of the hidden options. If you actually go to the reversal section, listed here are going to be cash-in attempt save and foiled cash-in attempts. I don't know why they're not in the cash-in section, but they're in here. And basically, it's 2 great ways to have cash-in attempts not occur because they're saved or the superstar who's the champion gets back up and stops it from happening. And those are ultimately a great way of storytelling because you want those fake cash-ins. You don't want every cash-in attempt to be something that happens and they get the win, yada, yada, yada. You want change. You want storytelling. So using these 2 options are a great way to really help that and make your universe mode more unique. But also, what about the build to the cash-in? If you have a heel, you want to make sure if they have the Money in the Bank, they want to do some distractions. They want to always be by the champion's waist. You want them always there ready to get that sneaky cash-in. Is it going to happen? Is it not? So what I like to do is use the distractions. Mid-match ringside distraction and ringside guest removal are great because the ringside distraction is basically the Money in the Bank holder getting the upper hand on the champion, getting in their head, that kind of thing. But the ringside guest removal is a great way for that champion to get the upper hand on the Money in the Bank holder and win that interaction. It's a great way to really keep things unique and different with these rivalry actions, as they are, in my opinion, the best for Money in the Bank. And now with that, let's go ahead and take a look at WarGames. So the WarGames is a great match, but you need to know two things about it. One is, for rivalry actions, you want to focus on them really creating that heated nature that warrants a WarGames match. But also, number two is you want rivalry actions that are focused on building teams. So first, building the heated nature. Unfortunately, there's no specific WarGames actions, but the post-match steel cage fight, in my opinion, is a great way to really mimic that because it brings down the cage and makes it feel like it's WarGames. It really has that cage action. And I think it's a great way to really show that. You also have other options like the post-match wild attack, which is a great way to show the heated nature of needing WarGames. You have the post-match kendo attack, which if you go to Brawl, I believe it's in. No, excuse me, it's on Ambush. Post-match kendo attack is there. Basically, in my opinion, this is a great way of maybe foreshadowing kendo sticks being used in WarGames, as you can throw in those different weapons within the match. And then also, I think targeted arm ambush and targeted leg ambush are also great rivalry actions to use because it can be, that initial targeting arm or leg can be then used later in WarGames as well to continue that storyline. That's a great fun one to have a storyline for WarGames. But now also building on to building teams is when you can do something a little bit different. So heading over to reversal, you have the winner saves losers. So building teams is it's new alliances forming. Some alliances already occur, but then you add new superstars to make it make sense. So a winner save loser can create an initial alliance, which is a great way to do it. Also, you have the unlikely manager, surprise manager, rivalry actions in the game, which are great ways to build new alliances that make sense for WarGames. So those are only a couple of possible options, but they're, in my opinion, the best ones to use to really build towards WarGames with rivalry actions. So for the mid-card, I talked about it before, it's a little different than the main event, as mid-card feuds usually are more focused on having matches against each other on weekly shows than PLEs, and that's why our rivalry actions will also kind of reflect that. As a great way to really do that is if you have multiple matches between mid-carders within a feud, make them all a little bit different. So what I like to do is have in the Brawl section, entrance attack and Brawl, entrance distraction and Brawl. Those kinds of things make each match a little bit different. Also, you can do the same thing with attacks as the attack during entrance, mutual aggression, those kinds of things, hostile match opener are all great ways to really make each match feel a little bit different because you're going to have multiple matches with each superstar against each other. You want to make them all a little bit different, make it all fresh so it's not the same match over and over, and really tell a story that changes things up. At the same time though, just because you're more focused on those matches against each other, they still will be similar to main events where sometimes we'll have a one superstar in a match versus a different opponent, and that other superstar in the feud will want to distract them and cause those issues, so we have some similarities between the main events. Also, to make things a little bit different, you don't need to have, these every beginning of the match be different. You can also have the end of matches be different to freshen things up. Use the post-match furious attack, post-match humiliating attack, those kinds of things that also keep up your rivalries being fresh with these certain rivalry actions for the mid-card. Unfortunately, once again, tag team setup is not great for automatic rivalry actions, but there's some great manual things you can do for tag team rivalry actions. So if you go over to the attack section, there's a lot of great ones to use, as I personally like the humiliating tag win and the disrespectful tag win, really, as if you want to push a heel tag team, these rivalry actions can further show their dominance and bring out their characters more with really doing whatever they want after a win. Also, another great one that I love to use is going to be the post-match tag chair attack. I feel like this is a great way to really push maybe a tag feud that's going to end with a match. It's not a normal 2v2, but a stipulation, as the chair shots really, show that ruthlessness of it to really explain why a stipulation match is going to be needed to finish this rivalry. Then also the pre-match tag skirmish is a great way to mix it up. You can also use the entrance attack, that kind of thing, but this is just one way I really love to mix up tag matches at the beginning to make them feel different, as this chaos really allows it to feel different. Then also head over to distraction, excuse me. Removal of managers is a great way to really use tag teams within factions, as removing the managers really creates a new and different dynamic that makes it different than your typical 2v2 where a faction has its members ringside to really help out. That's why I love to use that. And also promos are an option, but obviously promos are only 1v1 styled, so you can only use half the tag team, but it still at least feels somewhat cool to use. But yeah, that's what I have for the best for tag teams. Let me know if you agree, disagree down in the comments below. Now let's talk about how we can use rivalry actions to create new alliances, which can help form new factions or tag teams and that kind of thing. So the first one to talk about is a reversal. We already talked about winner saves a loser, but this is also a great one outside of WarGames to create new allies and factions, that kind of thing all together. Also, share attack save. This is a great way to use it, but one issue is with this option, you cannot choose who comes in for the save, so it's very random. But at the same time, that new random alliance can be a lot of fun when creating a new, faction or alliance to use. So that randomness is why I think it's also a great one to use. Then if you head over to teamwork, you can have a temporary alliance, which this one you can use just to have a temporary alliance for a triple threat match, but also it's a great way to really just create that first moment of a new alliance that you want to create that's long-term and not just temporary. So that's why I think it's the third one, and really these are the best 3 overall rivalry actions to use to create alliances. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments below.